In this video, we'll be doing Chapter 4, Section 3, where we look at metals and the groups and families that the metals form on the periodic table. For this lesson, you're going to need your science notebook and either crayons or colored pencils because we're going to be color coding and making graphs and annotating our periodic tables. So if you don't have that stuff, go ahead and pause the video until everybody has it and you're ready. Okay, so when we're looking at metals, there's two main types of properties. They have physical properties and they have chemical properties. Examples of physical properties of metal are shininess. So how shiny is it? Is it super shiny? Is it pretty dull? Where does it fall on the shininess scale? Malleability, which has to do with can it be hammered or rolled into sheets or other shapes? Easily, not at all. Does it just shatter? Things like that goes under malleability. Ductility, can it be pulled and stretched? Generally, they do that to form wires. Some things, when you pull on them, are just going to snap. So where does it fall on the scale of ductility? And then conductivity, can it transfer heat or electricity to another object, or does it not conduct anything very well? So metals can have all of these different physical properties. As far as chemical properties, it has to do with essentially how they react chemically. So for reactivity, so how easily does an element combine or react with another element? Is it super reactive? Is it not very reactive? We're going to get into what causes things to be more reactive or less reactive, but reactivity is a chemical property. And then corrosion, some metals react slowly to oxygen and form rust, and so is a metal susceptible to corrosion is another chemical property example. So diving into the types of metals, the very first group 1, is going to be the alkali metals. You'll notice that it does not include hydrogen up here, element number 1. That is not part of it. So when you're coloring this in, it's all the ones down below that in group 1. Okay, so you're going to want to choose a color. It doesn't have to be green. It can be any color that you want. And you're going to lightly color in. You still need to be able to read your periodic table, so make sure you're coloring lightly. This is why you're using colored pencils or crayons. And you're going to lightly color in all of those. And then somewhere down, I did this kind of in the top of my periodic table. You can look at the example that's in the classroom. But you're going to put like a box that you color in, whatever color it is that you used, and then you're going to write alkali metals next to it. And so you're going to essentially end up with a key of what each of the color means somewhere towards the top of your periodic table. Again, the example in the classroom has this, and you can look at that if you're confused. Okay, so while you're coloring those in, I'm going to talk about alkali metals. So alkali metals are part of group 1. They react with other elements by losing one electron, and so they're reactive because they want to get rid of that one electron. They're only found in compounds when they're out in nature. They cannot be found in nature in their pure form. And as pure uncombined elements, they're shiny and very soft. And so in a lab, they can create the pure uncombined elements. And so they've been able to figure out the properties of them like shiny and soft. But in nature, they're always found in a compound. And so up in the right-hand corner, you can see some examples of what those elements look like. So if not everyone is done coloring in the alkali metals and making the key at the top of their periodic table, go ahead and pause the video until everyone's ready, and then we'll move on to the next group. All right, the next group is going to be the alkaline earth metals. So you're going to choose a different color, and you're going to color in all of group 2. And then again, you're going to have a square, and you're going to color it in that color and say alkaline earth metals. Okay, somewhere towards the top of your periodic table. While you're coloring those in, I'm going to talk about the alkaline earth metals. So the alkaline earth metals make up group 2. They are fairly hard. Generally, they're a gray to white color, and they have really good conductivity. they fall under like a mid-level reactivity. So they're not as reactive as the ones in group 1, but they're more reactive than the other elements as you move across the periodic table. So we call them mid-level reactivity. So some examples of these are manganese, beryllium, calcium, strontium, barium, and radium. You can see pictures of those in their pure form up in the right-hand corner of this slide. So again, if people are not done coloring, go ahead and pause this video, and then we'll start again when everyone's ready on the next group. So the next group is the transition metals. So you'll see that this one looks identical to yours because I colored in this picture for you. So you're going to do all of group 3 through group 12. So you're going to have this big square that you're doing one color. Okay, again, make sure you're coloring lightly enough that you can see things through them because you will need to be able to read these. And then you're going to have your little square with that color, and you're going to label it transition metals. While you're coloring, I will talk about them. So the transition metals make up group 3 through group 12. They're metals that you're familiar with, like iron, copper, silver, some of those ones that have come up and that you might even know the chemical formulas for. They are all generally good conductors of electricity. They can be used to conduct electricity through wires or other methods. They are significantly less reactive than the alkali and the alkaline earth metals. And then there's a picture here that shows you some of the examples. Quite a few of them are shiny, but it's not a requirement. The only thing that is very, very clear through all the transition metals is that they're good conductors of electricity. So if not everyone's done coloring, go ahead and pause, and then we can start again when everyone is ready. So the next group is the mixed metals. So on your periodic table, you'll notice that there's this like dark set of stair steps. The mixed metals are going to fall underneath those stair steps. Okay, so from aluminum and down, from germanium and down, antimonium and down, polonium and down, and then this one that is unnamed at the time that your periodic table was created. Ooh, go back. So those are your mixed metals. So coloring those, again, a new color, and creating your key. So some of the elements in group 13 through 15. The reason that it's not all of them is because there's a whole nother section that we'll talk about next lesson that are the above the stair step ones. And so we'll look into those. All of the ones in the mixed metals are not very reactive. So as we get farther and farther to the right-hand side of our periodic table, the elements get less and less reactive. These include some metals that you know, like aluminum, lead, tin, things that we've used for storage and stuff, not very reactive, right? If we used a reactive metal to hold our soup, that would be bad. And so they're ones that are used for other purposes. If not everyone's done coloring, go ahead and pause this, and then we'll regroup for the next one. So the next group is called the lanthanides. These are some of those drop down ones that are down below. So it's the whole top row of the ones that have been dropped down and out. On your periodic table, there's like a bold line over here, and you'll see how these numbers fit between. And they kind of got plucked down and pulled out here. The reason for that is because they have different properties. And so in order to keep them with the things that fit them, they're still similar to their atomic numbers, but they're not similar to the ones above or below them. And so that's why they got pulled out, and they're their own group down below. So the lanthanides are often soft, malleable, and shiny metals. Remember, malleable means we can turn it into things and move it around because it's soft. They're highly conductive, right? So they can conduct electricity or other things. They're usually found together in nature, so they're often found bonded together or near each other in minerals. And they're difficult to separate from each other. So when they're bonded together, they don't want to come apart. And so it takes a lot of energy to break the lanthanides apart from each other. Okay, so pause the video if not everyone's ready. So the last group of metals that we're going to look at today is the actinides. So that is the bottom row from those drop down ones. Okay, so one more new color adding a square, adding to your key, and so on. All right, for the actinides, there's only a couple that occur naturally on Earth. So actinium, thorium, protactinium, and uranium occur naturally on Earth. The other ones are only formed in laboratories because they're super, super unstable elements, and so they'll just react with anything that's around them, and so you can't find them in their pure form anywhere on Earth. They're just too reactive. All right, well, that wraps up lesson 4.3, where we were looking at the different types of metals.